Hello and welcome to part one of our social media strategy videos. We'll be doing two videos here. The first will be dealing with how social media is used or can be used by businesses, and then our second video will just introduce how to develop a social media strategy. So part one will be just dealing with our focusing on what challenges does social media help businesses with, and then part two will be okay, now that we understand the challenges, how can we go about developing strategies to tackle those challenges. So these are introductory videos, and not in depth, but they will give you a good insight or introduction into social media strategies and then how to develop a strategy. So let's look at today's learning outcomes. Well, today's learning outcomes, we'll really only be looking at the value of strategic use of social media, so how it helps solve business challenges. And we'll start by asking the question or statement, using social media to solve business challenges. And the source of a lot of this information is from the Quirk book on digital marketing, and it's the social media chapter. That is available to students that are doing this course, and you can access that. I'll show you through where you can access that through Moodle at the end of the session. So social media, well, can be used strategically in a number of marketing and communication challenges, and it is used in a number of ways. And even though we've pointed out 8 ways in which social media is used here, it's very likely now that there's more, and with the digital revolution and the development of technology and social media on a daily basis, we're finding more ways that we can use social media to solve business challenges. But in today's class, we're really going to spend a couple of minutes looking at each of these, so from communication and outreach all the way down to insights and research, and what these mean and what they would mean for a company, and how they would help a business, if you like, solve its challenges. And it gives you an overall idea as well. You know, if you're starting out in digital marketing or you're starting out with a company, having an understanding of these sort of general 8 concepts of where it can help is a good place to start, because you know, a lot of problems fall under any of these 8 problems. So we'll move on and look at communication and outreach. Sorry, gone off there for some reason. Okay. So communication and outreach, well, really what we're looking at here firstly is, you know, this notion of communication and how has it allowed or influenced or improved the business world in terms of communication. And I suppose, like a lot of other communicative methods that we use in marketing, they tend to be one directional. And social media, as we've written here, offers brands an effective two-way communication tool. And what that basically means is, you know, advertisements, billboards, posters, even press releases in newspapers, they all tended to be one directional, which was that the company or the business was putting out its information, and it was putting it out there, and it was looking for no engagement back on that information. It was just putting it out there, and hopefully it was relating to its customers and doing what they had hoped it would do. But in essence, there was no two-way feedback loop. There was no well, I agree with that message, or I disagree with that message, or I think this is excellent, or I'd like to ask you more questions. And maybe there was, if you like, a more archaic type of two-way communication, in that someone might see the ad and then they might follow up on it, or they might see the press release and they might follow up with the marketing department. But in real terms, there wasn't that live two-way communication or real-time communication where now someone might have a question, they might see something instantaneously, and instantaneously they may have a question back, and you can create this two-way communication dialogue that really didn't exist before. And its its practical uses are numerous. They're so large, and if you could take even a small business, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, a restaurant puts out a promotion, and maybe someone asks, well, can I take my dog? Does your restaurant allow that? And you have an answer straight away. The customer has an answer straight away. Whereas if we put out that promotion, maybe you're looking at ringing, or because it's before hours of work and no one's responding to you, whereas we're nearly always on now in the communication world, the social media world, that you're getting these replies almost instantaneously. And it's that good two-way dialogue as well. And again, that can solve a lot of issues before issues arise. People can ask questions and communicate with the business before the issues arrived. So, in essence, social media has allowed for this new type, if you like, of two-way, almost symmetrical communication, where you're not just putting out a message, but you're putting out the message, and the customer is receiving the message, and the customer gets back to you on their understanding of the received message, and they communicate back to you to confirm that this is exactly what you're saying. And it presents the possibility for clearer communication. So that's the first thing we would say, which is almost a revolution when it did start to happen. Social media brought this two-way symmetrical type model of communication, and also that it was real time. And again, we use so many different platforms for that. We can use Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and, TikTok, Instagram, all of the Snapchats and that. So this bi-directional or two-way communication is what makes social communities so exciting and challenging. And absolutely exciting because you have, if you like, an opportunity to engage with the customers every hour of every minute. If you want to, you can engage with them constantly. You can engage with them really as much as you want to, and that in itself is exciting, while also presenting its challenges of, well, do I really want to communicate with them, and then what do I communicate with them? And I think large companies and small businesses indeed that have been successful over the last number of years would attribute their activity on social communities as a catalyst for their success. So businesses and brands can use this medium to communicate with and reach out to the public. Increasingly, social media is becoming a highly effective public communications tool, and I think we'd all agree with that just from our own anecdotal evidence of using social media. And even, I suppose, at the moment with the challenges of, if you like, of the macroeconomics, the coronavirus, and that, businesses and brands are being able to communicate in such a way that they could never maybe have done beforehand, by putting out public announcements and different things like that there. So social media obviously is a highly effective public communications tool. I think it was obvious, but maybe not. This is fast becoming a vital aspect of newsworthy and breaking news events such as elections, disasters, and global sports. And I think we would also agree with this. When I started out with our digital marketing company a number of years ago, that's one of the first things we started doing. We started, even though we might be a hotel company, or our client was a hotel company, we might have broadcast any news that was relevant to the tourism industry. In a way, some companies almost become news reporting companies, because if you're a sports company, you might say, well, the new Michael Jordan documentary is out on Netflix today, and while that's not exactly breaking news, it's still engaging with your customers in some level or another. So I think we could all agree that in terms of communication and outreach, it's something that really companies and businesses are doing at the moment and can do. Many organizations also use social media tools to broadcast service updates, and I think in the main now is just a very common thing today. We have social, all companies using social media to update on any changes or contractuals or changes in services or promotions. And I think, again, that, like most stuff in this slide, is probably just common sense. And okay, so that's just the first thing, communication and outreach, and it's one of the things that social media and businesses are using social media more and more every day. So the second thing that we're looking at is community management. And I suppose social media platforms are built around communities and sometimes virtual representation of real world networks and communities, but that's really true. You can create a community, an online community for yourself, and in many ways, and when you were starting up a business originally, you had to build a community, if you like, of publics that were affected by your business, whereas now you can somewhat create a community before you've even launched a business, and indeed once you've launched your business you can build that community and grow that community around your business's needs, wants, and really creating, I suppose, this virtual network idea of a virtual network. Creating, building and nurturing a community means that organizations don't just participate in conversations that are happening around and about, but they also actively lead and guide those conversations. And from a public relations perspective, that's what we like to do in public relations. You like to engage with your publics, you like to engage with your stakeholders, and you like to create the narrative, and you like to lead the topic or the dynamic of the flow of information, and you can do that as a community manager. You can set the narrative, you can lead discussions in these communities, you can join discussions, and you can have multiple networks through multiple networks, and you can engage in both these networks. And again, you can that method dynamic of two-way communication. You can engage with your publics, and you can sort of set out really what you're all about. Building and maintaining communities is a long-term project, and again, I suppose in digital marketing, but much the same in public relations, you're looking at maintaining and building relationships with your publics, and this is something that we can do in social media. We can use social media platform from a business perspective in doing that, in building and maintaining communication with our publics. And we say here it's a long-term project. I guess it is, but it can be used for the short term as well. But like anything, like building any good business, it's going to take time. And this idea or model of community management allows us to build and maintain relationships over the long term if we stick to it and are persistent in our good communication practices. It starts with determining what the best platform is for that community, and that's something that we'll look at in class when we discuss it a little bit further. But again, we are currently based here in Bahrain, and I think you could say, well, Bahrainis by and large would use Instagram more so than Facebook, and yet if we were targeting expatriates that were resident here in the island, well, we might use Facebook as the platform to communicate with them, because expatriates use Facebook perhaps more than locals use Instagram. Or expatriates use Facebook and locals use Instagram, sorry. So we should know, or we should know what the best platform is to discuss with our community. And that's something we'll look in the next video as well, in terms of developing our digital marketing strategy. Whereas today we're just looking at potential solutions that social media can offer for businesses. Again, I think this is one that you would all be very familiar with, anecdotal evidence, and just using social media every day. You will see that it has become a platform for support and customer service, and Whether that was one of the original visions of social media, I am not sure, but it has become a very good support and customer service tool for both the business and customers. Social media is becoming an additional customer service channel. That is, I think we all know and agree with that. It's almost common sense now. Almost one of the things we do straight away when we have a problem with company is, we used to stomp our feet into the restaurant. Now we'll put a message up there, and if we have a problem with the services of a hotel, well, we're straight on to rate the hotel on Google, or we're straight on to rate it on Airbnb or Booking.com, and vice versa. This is now something that we see marketing executives in all the different roles and guises around the world, whether it's working in a hotel, we sort of monitor complaints or problems that are coming in through these various different platforms, and we're trying to deal with those complaints or problems because the reputation of our business, but also because we can offer this support and customer service through these platforms. So we say here, some customers have found that problems or questions on social media tend to be resolved more quickly, as brands are wary of having unresolved issues left out in public. And I think we'd all agree with that. I think we all know of examples where, I tried ringing that company 20 times and nothing happened, and then I just put up a really nasty negative complaint and they got back to me straight away. Yeah. Everybody goes about it their own way, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but we've seen that, I think, and we've seen examples of that, and I would agree that that is true. A company really doesn't want to leave an unresolved issue up in the public domain. It will respond to it in one way or another, whether it thinks that the complainant is wrong, or indeed that they want to offer some sort of resolution to make better what they had done wrong. Customer service and social media channels starts to become collaborative, with customers assisting each other and in doing so reducing the reliance on organization for support. And this, I have actually come across this a lot myself, just general issues with problems. I mean, even I'm part of a group here in Bahrain. When we came to Bahrain, we signed up for Mums in Bahrain, and it was an online platform where we sort of help each other out. And there's maybe 50 or 60 or 100,000 members, and some of the things that you might see up there is, well, where can I get such and such medicine for a cat, or where can I get such and such from a bank, or I'm looking for work, or so. This social media platform has opened up this collaborative problem-solving platform or area, if you like. And again, if I was a company monitoring social media in an extensive way, I'd be on these problem-solving platforms recommending our company or our business to deliver this package or whatever it might be. So that was all there was on support and customer service, and I think we'd agree with that. Again, kind of common sense here, really, what we're discussing today, but I think often with the way with marketing is, until you actually cover these things and point them out, they then become common sense. Reputation management, without a doubt, and I think this is just growing and growing as well. A lot of companies now, they look at social media as almost as a huge solution and a great thing, but also somewhat a problem, in that they have to be constantly monitoring their reputation online, because let's be honest about it, online presents an opportunity where people can throw stones at a glass house from behind a wall. You can be anonymous and you can slate a company, or you can really take out a personal agenda against a company, which is very unfair, but that's the nature of the beast that's been created. And that's something that we have to be aware of in digital marketing. Again, does this solve business's challenge? Well, yes, it can solve business's challenges. It can create the challenge, but again, I tend to take the more proactive approach in digital marketing, working for clients or consulting with clients, and we would advise often that we're in charge of our reputation and we can set the narrative, and so we constantly work to promote our reputation online by highlighting the good things that we do. And so as much as there might be problems with reputation management, there is a great opportunity for a lot of businesses now to really develop their reputation online, which, you know, in an extremely competitive world without social media, it was quite difficult to establish a good and strong reputation. It might have taken years, whereas you can accelerate that process now. The need for online reputation management and monitoring is growing, and brands are now realizing this, and I agree. Through the combination of search and social media, all mentions of a brand or individual are only a quick click search away, whether they are positive or negative, and that is true. If we need to do research in a company, we Google it, or we Yahoo, Bing, or we type it into Instagram, and, you know, straight away we're getting feedback on the company. Brands can use social media in two ways to manage their online reputation: monitoring customers and fans, and communicating their side of the story. Maybe there's more ways than that as well, and if you think so, please leave a comment, and we're learning and improving every day. So that's number 4, reputation management. Number 5, advertising and awareness. And I think we could probably dedicate more than one slide to this, but advertising and awareness is certainly something that businesses can use social media to do. Obviously, if you have the budget, advertising is a huge area of social media now. And, you know, it's a great way of getting your advert out to your community or your potential customers. You know, we've done Facebook advertising and Instagram advertising before, and we'll actually do it in class where we'll set up an advert. But just the ability of Instagram ads and Facebook ads now to be so targeted and customizable and really, in relative terms, really cost effective. You know, so it's something that I would, if you're, you know, if this is an introduction to you to social media strategy, it really is an area that I would recommend that you start looking at as opposed to maybe the more traditional methods of advertising. So up here we see the more time people spend in social media, the more brands want to advertise there, and more people are spending more and more time, and more brands are advertising there. Although I must say, I was doing a class yesterday, or a video for a class yesterday, on Google AdWords, and I was looking for examples of Google AdWords, and I think this moment in time with the coronavirus, we're at an all-time low of ads appearing on Google AdWords. Maybe I'm wrong. It was just, again, anecdotal evidence. I was going through lots of different sites, or key phrases, looking for different ads, and there wasn't as many as normal. Okay, so there are rich demographic and psychographic targeting opportunities, and there are. I had a client a number of years back in a pharmaceutical company, and you know, I remember saying to him one day, well, look, we can. He mentioned that he had a new cream for psoriasis, I think it was, and I said, okay, well, we can target those customers exactly in, you know, 50 kilometer radius or 50-mile radius. And he was like, what do you mean you can target these customers? And, you know, you can put in what are people's interests, and, you know, Facebook and Instagram and all these social media platforms record what their users are looking at and what they're liking. And if you've liked any story on dermatology or psoriasis, well, then, you know, that when I go looking for you, Instagram will show me, yes, you can advertise, or Facebook will tell me you can advertise to 400 people in a 50-kilometer radius that have liked posts on psoriasis in the last month or 2 or a year. So we can really target people much more effectively than previously. Most social networks offer advertising options that are accessible to both the small advertiser as well as the big spender, and that is important to note, that it's small advertiser as well. You'd be amazed at how, you know, large an audience you can reach for such a small amount of money. And again, as I say, if this is your introduction to social media strategies, you should explore that further. And if you're part of my class at the moment, we will be exploring further. There's a nice big poster that's 3 years old. social ad spending to grow to 11 billion by 2017. God knows what it is now, but I'm sure it's much higher. Sales and lead generation. And of course, it is just social media offers the potential for sales and leads generation at the moment. So let's go to point one. Adding a social layer to a commercial transaction, create a richer experience for online consumers. Adding a social layer to a commercial transaction, so it's a richer experience. Maybe you can, I guess, again engage in that two-way communication and talk them through the whole process of the buying process. And I think even for myself, I recently bought a VPN, and I have to say probably part of the I guess the experience of having the support online and being able to talk me through the setup, and it probably contributed to my buying or their selling of the product. And obviously I used social media first, and then that kind of fed me to their website, and then from their website they done enough to lead me to a sale. An excellent example of layer-based on inferred connections is Amazon's collaborative filtering. If you browsed on Amazon.com, you will no doubt have seen product information such as people who bought this also bought that, and that's a good example of what we're talking about. And that is, I think, something that we now see not just in online, we see it in Netflix and different things. And social communities can also be lead generations or sales generation assets. And I talked earlier about just a group that I belong to that often made recommendations for where I can get or buy or do things. Within Facebook, for example, applications on brand pages can allow e-commerce transactions or lead generation within the Facebook environment. Again, I think this is becoming more and more popular among businesses where they're using social media platforms to generate sales and leads to sales. Search engine optimization. Well, search engine optimization, if you've not done it before, is optimizing your your placement on search engines such as Google and that, so that you appear first in the search. And social media now plays an important role in search engine optimization. It provides additional assets that can be optimized so that a brand owns the result pages for searches for their brand. So you can sort of, by good social media practices, have your platforms appear higher up in the rankings. A savvy CEO strategy will also make use of social media assets, links and likes for strengthening the position of other web assets. So what that basically means is that you're using your website to promote your social media, and your social media to promote your website, and you're creating links from social media platforms to drive sales on your website, which is pushing your website up in the search engine optimization of Google. Oops, sorry. And then lastly, insights and researches. And social media can be a very powerful insight and research tool, and it is not can. When you are planning a campaign, social media can provide a rich source of data, both demographic and preference-based. You can use this information, you can use the information people share freely to understand more about your market, brand or product. Building your online community also gives you a group you can reach out to for information. So it is true. Look, market research is so important, and Facebook and other social media platforms really provide so much market research currently. So that class activity, I think I will do with my class the next day, but that does not apply to you if you are not in my class. So we'll deal with that in class the next day. And I just want to go back here and say, here is our 8, if you like, things that social media can help a business solve. So I hope this has been a good class and has, just as I said, maybe introduced you to things that you never realized that social media can provide in terms of support for your business. I hope you enjoyed this class, and we will, for the second part, you can find it on YouTube. So part 2 of this video.